Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how I made this super cool piece of functional art. It's a keyring holder with a little shelf for your wallet, phone, whatever, and the sunburst so you have something super cool to look at as you go in and out your door every day. Alright, let's start by cutting our backing piece to 6 by 10. So next I'm going to take a piece of redwood that I reclaimed from a children's play set actually and draw the sun on it with a compass. I like to put it on top of the backing when I do this so I can get a feel for the size and the angle that I want. So then I take it over to the bandsaw and cut it out. Sand the edges and the top. So for the rays, I'm just going to use all this old scrap wood that I have laying around that's already cut into triangles because it's cutoffs from making the sunbursts that I make. I'll put a link to that in the description just so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. I sand the sides of these pieces so there's no gaps when I put them next to each other. Now we're going to lay out the rays, but first we need to know where the sun's going to go so we have some reference for when we do lay out the rays. So I just trace around the sun really quick. This was one of my favorite parts, deciding where everything was going to go and giving these scraps some new life. The next step is to cut off the tips of the sun rays, but first we need to know where to cut. Yep, that's where. Now let's glue and pin nail the sun in place. If you've seen some of our other videos, you know I like to use these little blue towels over the sun to give it a little protection. Now I've got all the rays back on and in place, but if you notice, there's little gaps in between the rays and the sun. So what we're going to do is we're going to sand the edges of the rays so it fits nicely. Looks like I decided to join a speed gluing competition to attach the rays. Now that I've let all the glue dry overnight, I'm going to run this through the drum sander to flatten out all the rays to get to the same level as the sun. You could run it through a planer. I don't like to run something this skinny through the planer because the rollers on the planer, if you get too skinny and the rollers are too far apart, then your piece could flip up and then all of a sudden it's really dangerous. You have just a bundle of sticks, right? And they're flying everywhere. So I like to use the drum sander for something that's this thin, but if you don't have a drum sander or a planer, you could always just have all of the rays and the sun the same height before you even glue anything down. When she was emerging from the sander, I noticed a couple of gaps in between the rays, so I figured I would just throw in a little bit of wood filler. let it dry for about a half hour and decided to go over it with a sander one more time. When it was time to trim the edges, I realized that I already had two sides that were pretty much flat and at 90 degrees, so I just sanded those two down, and then I could use those as a base on the table saw to get their corresponding sides. Well, I think that's looking pretty good. Now it's time to start on the shelf. Yeah, you remember the bottom shelf, right?
Yeah.
I'm using the top piece as a measure for the width of the bottom shelf. I'm just using some scrap plywood here. I think it's gonna work out great. The depth of the shelf is about 4.5 inches. I stained the shelf a darker color because I wanted the sunburst to stand out a little bit more. Now we're going to attach our bottom shelf piece to our backing. And we're going to do that in 3 simple steps. We're going to run a bead of glue along the bottom, and then we're going to clamp them together. And then we're going to use these L brackets. There's many ways we could attach these, but the L brackets are the simplest and the strongest, so let's just use that. When I clamped it on, I realized that I lost my 90 degrees a little bit, but that didn't really matter because when I screwed the L brackets on, everything just kind of fell right back into place. Also, as I was marking the holes to be drilled for the L brackets, I realized that the bottom hole on the back actually lined up right at the crease between the back and the shelf. Right there. But that's okay because all I really need is that top hole. So I drilled my 2 holes in the top and 4 in the bottom. Put the screws in and was pretty happy. Okay, now let's put a frame around everything just to clean it up a bit. I have these old pieces of cherry laying around the shop that are 3/8 by 5/8, so that's what I'm going to use, but you could use anything. So first we have to get our measurements. Cut our strips to length. Notice the stop block so the corresponding pieces are the same length. And finally, glue and nail them on. These were already looking pretty good, but I decided to do a little hand sanding anyway. One thing I've found is using a natural stain is really similar to putting a finish on. It really makes the grain pop. So I do it all the time when I know I'm not going to use a colored stain, but I still want something that's going to give that deep feel. We're almost finished. All we have to do now is put the hangers on the bottom for the keys and the hooks on the back to hang it on the wall. First, I measured, marked, and drilled where the hooks are going to go. I'm going to use 4 hooks, and they're going to be 1.5 inches away from the front of the shelf. Then I did the same for the hangers on the back. I used keyhole hangers here because I wanted it to be a little more solid and stick to the wall. And I want to mark the distance between the holes so when someone drills into the wall, they get it exactly right. Screw the key hooks in and we have ourselves a sunny shelf. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we know we're doing something right.